Conversations with Carmalita.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
The following conversations that are going to be had are some that are very difficult for me because we're talking about our bodies, and I personally have had a long battle with my body. So as I am being more intentional about making a home in my body, I want to combat diet culture at the beginning of the year by instead having conversations about where the root of our incessant desire to change our bodies and be more fit and be skinnier and lose weight and alter our bodies to make them look more whatever. Instead of that, I want to talk to some people about where our ideas around our bodies come from and how to embrace our journeys with how we feel in ourselves. Just kind of like have this conversation, because sometimes all it takes is naming a thing, and then we can kind of start the healing process or start the process of undoing or like unraveling. So I just want to know, like, what's your history with your body?
Yeah, I've dealt with it since childhood, maybe 6th grade. I always was taller than everybody when I was younger. Me and my whole crew was taller than everybody. And in 6th grade, that's when I started liking boys. I went to a predominantly white school, so being thick with boobs, hips, and all of that was kind of like weird. So I kind of like shelled myself because I looked weird to other people. But on the retrospect, I go to the hood, people think I'm like 15, 16 years old because I'm so fully developed. And then I started having my own little trauma where I, end up getting molested and stuff. And I kind of started looking at myself as if I was weird, and that carried all the way till I was an adult. And people compliment me all the time, like, oh my God, I'm so happy with your weight loss. But it's very, very hard to see it in the mirror.
How do you get comfortable with yourself?
Being nicer to myself, meditating a lot more and telling myself how beautiful I am. Because when I got to that 380 pounds, I hated me. I really hated me. Now, I feel like, okay, at that time I hated me, and I started making other people hate me too. And now it's like, okay, do I want to be that person? Do I want to be the person that walks in the room like, here she comes, the dark cloud in the room? And I didn't want that for myself. So it was a mental shift at some point for myself.
Yes. I'm going to go all the way back to when I was in the 4th grade, as far back as I can remember. I feel like I can get a pretty good view of my body from back then. And I remember being in 4th grade with boobs.
Wow.
And I didn't wear a bra yet because they were just coming. They came in so fast, I never noticed. And I remember bending over with this top on, and you could just like see. I was so embarrassed by that because I was 9 years old with boobs. None of my friends had them. So I always felt really awkward about that. And I'm always kind of, and I mean, they're really big now, but they were, for my age, they were big back then. They've always been big for my age. And going forward, my boobs have always been bigger than everyone around me. So that was one thing that I was always super self-conscious about. And then growing up with young boys, and they're, everybody wants to touch them and see what they're like, because at that age, they're curious. And that was always kind of my thing. I'm always trying to hide them or thinking of ways to cover them up, or, just trying to take the attention off of them.
Right.
Fast forward to high school, not necessarily being big, because I don't think it wasn't really on my radar back then, but still always trying to look small, like always trying to make yourself seem smaller than you are. I remember when the high waist phase came out, like that was my shit, because you could always bring it up over there.
I'm never gonna let it die. High waist will never die for me.
Me either.
I just the spandex or the bodycon. Any bodycon spandex things, snatch me up, please.
Yes.
All the Central State parties.
All the Central State parties. Yep, sure did.
I'm going like this.
Those waist trainers, everything that can just kind of pull it in a little bit, even if you're miserable.
Shit, you can't breathe in. Oh,
trying to twerk like this.
Just stuck. I know with me, like she said, it started at a very young age. Like growing up, I was never a fat kid. I was, regular like all the kids. But somewhere between like 8th grade going into high school, it was like I was always the bigger girl in the crew. It started in middle school because I was in had 3 best friends, and one was light skinned and really petite, and she had this cute little shape, and then another one was light skinned and cute petite, and then my other friend, she had really long hair, and they could wear really cute clothes that I couldn't fit at that age. And I remember so vividly in the 8th grade, we were getting prepared to take like pictures, and that was like the big thing, like what our outfit gonna be, what we gonna wear. And they wanted to wear like these little jean mini skirts with this top, and all 3 of them could fit the skirt and the top. I couldn't, so I had to get a different type of skirt and top. And I remember taking those pictures feeling so isolated. And that was at like 13 years old. And I was never real big, but I was just always bigger than the girls I hung with. And it kind of just transitioned to high school. It was still the same. I'm still the biggest out of everybody. No, I'm not huge, but I'm not small like them. I really didn't start to get comfortable until I got to college, because I started to see people that looked like me, that were my size or bigger, and they were so confident. So I got a lot of that confidence attending at HBCU and seeing people that look like me, and they were confident in their skin and they were modeling. And then after I had my twins, I feel like it came back.
I hesitate to label it as body dysmorphia, but I am really self-conscious about it.
Okay.
And mine is more rooted in motherhood, right? So
Okay.
I gave birth, but prior to giving birth, like I was a dual athlete, right?
Right.
I played basketball, ran track, so I've always been like my fittest, bestest self,
Right.
physically. And I can take a lot of pride in that. And giving birth, just not every mother feels this, but it definitely made me feel like my body just wasn't mine. And I'm still like struggling with that, like internalizing the fact that my body still does not feel like mine. Like I can't physically do the things that I know my body is capable of. And I'm so self-conscious of it that I also haven't been able to put forth the effort to get it there either. I don't want to have to stomach the fact that I'm just not there anymore, that I physically can't do these things.
Right.
And I just haven't found the mental capacity to push through and be like, you're going to keep failing at this, and you're probably going to fail at this for a really long time. I'm not comfortable with that failure.
Yeah. So tell me more about the idea of your body not being yours because you literally grew a human.
Yeah.
You did this beautiful thing, you know, like you created a life. Your body was home to a person. Like, wow, congratulations, all those things. And you're like...
And that's usually how people treat it. Like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. You gave birth. You should love these stretch marks and all of these things. And forgetting that, like, literally someone took over my body, right? Like, no fault for hers. Like, my daughter is like the love of my life,
For
right?
sure,
She's the best, right?
Right.
Would you literally hand your body over to another human being and you watch it completely be outside of your control in ways, right? Like, you gotta use the bathroom consistently. You are hungrier than you've ever been sometimes, or you got this morning sickness. All these things that are literally out of your control because you are doing something that's very natural, very beautiful, but like, it doesn't always make you feel that way, right? Nothing feels beautiful about not being able to control if I need to throw up in the morning, or if I need to constantly use the bathroom because suddenly some kid is pushing up on my bladder 24/7, right? Like, it's uncomfortable. It's weird. And I literally just turned it over. And people will come back and expect you to like, just feel like it's such a beautiful thing. It's such a natural thing all the time. And it even is heightened by the fact that like people talk about how babies, they spread your hips and you get thicker and you just look fuller and you know, and like I've literally gotten comments like, oh, you filled out in all the right places. And I'm like, yeah, but all of these places make it harder for me to run. When I'm trying to run, I'm more likely not to have an asthma attack. Like it just does all these things that I don't interpret it as something beautiful all the time. Most of the time I don't, if I'm being honest. So you can really internalize that, right? Where you start to feel like you can't even talk about the fact that I can't really say to people sometimes that I'm not happy in this body. And it's a result of the fact that I gave birth. Because then it comes off as like, so you're not happy you gave birth? So you don't like that you have a child? And it's like, that's not what I said.
Right after I had the twins, I was like 50 pounds, and because I had got really sick and got on the birth control and gained like 50 plus pounds back. Like, I was so disgusted with myself at my sister's wedding. Like, even now when I look at those pictures, I'm just like, how did I let myself get like that? And when I came back from Vegas, like I told my husband, I told myself, I said, I'm not gonna feel like this another day. Like, I can't. Like, I felt like I had sunk into such a bad depression because of the way I looked. One, I started therapy. That was the first thing. I got a trainer. I started going to the gym. So the biggest I think I was like 237 pounds. And I'm short, so that was way too much weight on my body. I got a trainer and I started to feel better. But one thing my therapist said to me, regardless of what size I am, I'm enough. And I think as women, we 24/7, we're trying to make sure everybody else is okay. Whether it's work, family, friends, pets. I wasn't showing that self-care to myself because I was so worried about making sure my kids are okay or trying to be a wife, and then my job is hectic and you want to start a business and you don't think about yourself. So I really just been practicing affirmations. Like, I have them all over my bathroom a mirror. But even now, like she said, I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, look at my stomach, look at my mommy pouch, and once again, social media doesn't help because you see these glamorous women and banging bodies, or once again, it makes you start looking at yourself in the mirror like, oh, my arms are too big. And like you said, how do you get out of that? I feel like it's a 100% work in progress every single day, honestly. Like you said, you dealt with it since you were a child. Probably all of us have. So it's like a habit like that doesn't go away overnight. You have to work at it. And I think it includes therapy, working out, self-care. But I can say, Carmalita, you really inspire me because I watched you over these years and I've watched your transformation and you being like die-hard workout, and just to see you, I don't even know, what you go through mentally on your own, but just seeing you flourish. And to me, it looks like you're going through this transformation of where you're saying, fuck it. I love me. I love my body, no matter 200 pounds or 150 pounds. And that is so inspiring to see, because I'm going through that same thing. And when you're seeing other women like yourself, and they're like, fuck it, I don't care what people think about me. Regardless of what size I am, I'm okay. And that's what I'm trying to get to. So
I really appreciate you for saying that, because I think that's kind of where like a little fallacy in social media comes from. It's like, what you're saying is absolutely correct. Like, there are times where I'm like, I'm fucking bomb. Like, I literally wake up every day feeling like I was the baddest bitch that was ever created. And I feel that, and I feel like every woman, like, real shit, like, I feel like every woman should wake up and be like, I'm that bitch. But every day is not like that. There are some days that I'm like even this is the silliest thing. I used to have armpit muscles. Like, I used to throw javelin and like weightlift every day. But the fact that I'm like, what is this extra skin? Like, what is this? And it's like the dumbest thing. Nobody else thinks about their armpits. So now I'm like, why my shit fold over? Like, what is that? When my body was thin, it was like this part of my body instead. The dysmorphia comes in, we hone in, or the dysmorphia makes you believe that there's something wrong with the fact that I have skin on my body, right? Or like extra skin. So it's like with social media, I try to be very like transparent and like authentically me, but I'm also not posting on the days where I feel awful, right? Like, or I'm gonna get a picture from a couple weeks ago, or I'm gonna post a throwback picture where I was like, actually I was bomb on this day. I know that I'm a little different because I'm pretty open about everything. And so if I am like struggling with like body dysmorphia, or like I'm very open about like my anorexia and bulimia, and I do share that as well, but that's not the norm. It can feel like a very alone thing. Like, you're in this body and you feel this thing, but it's like, well, how are other women talking about themselves? Like, am I the only one who feels like my body is never like going to quite arrive? Like, you get to a certain point, you lose a certain amount of weight, and both of you guys have said like, but then there's something else.